let's say, let's say someone who's having really serious illness and cancer and having pain, and like it could be that this is this because this person ignored all those guidance before and got this giant big lesson to find himself again, and could also be this is a karmic contract because they killed someone last life.
But so like I said before, like the death is already one of the most predestined events anyway. So if you're meant to die, you're gonna die. Yeah, that's pretty much unpreventable. That's really hard to accept for most people. But let me.
Okay.
So that's one thing, and the other one is like if you're not meant to die, you're gonna heal anyway. The only thing you can do is like stand in the way of it, and it always comes down back to the same lessons. So like disease is nothing else than like a distortion in your wholeness, just like everything else. So if you believe and if you perceive yourself as not whole, it creates a distortion in you. And when you focus on healing, and like what we said earlier, like when you think there is something in you that is separate from you, and you need to get rid of it, it's like denying its divine source, its divine beingness. So the only reason, or like the only way to ever get rid of a disease is unconditionally embracing it, and in that way you could find source, because that's so it's not by fighting it or like being stronger or like being more in a fighter or something. The actually growth and remembering to come home actually lies in unconditional love. So it's like you could use this as a chance to remember source, but again, like it wouldn't be necessary if you would have listened before. And one more thing is, I think it was Abraham Hicks, wasn't it, who said like the minute when people stop fighting, suddenly they have magic healings. So it's really, the healing doesn't lie in the trying to overcome it with force. Again, the human doesn't know anything. The healing lies in letting source show you how whole you already are, but that's only possible when the human steps out of the way. And it usually only happens when people drop all resistance, meaning it's usually happening when they give up. So when they're tired of fighting, when they're exhausted, when they have exhausted all their options and they simply give up, and this is when healing occurs. Not any minute before that, only when they surrender. This is the magic of surrender. This is the lesson of surrender is simply, it's like giving up. It's like, I accept that this is not in my hands, this is in the hands of something bigger than myself, and it knows better anyway, and it will fix it, or not. Surrender is like, or not. It could also be mean that I die, and it's death is such a complicated topic, so maybe we should focus on a different challenge first, which is not so personal. Like, I had a lot of financial debt, which was also devastating, and I was fighting it and I was resisting it. And it was 500,000 euros, so it was not a little bit, it was a lot. And I was like working and trying to get out of it. I can tell you, it just magically when I gave up. That's pretty much it. So,
but I look at all those miraculous healing cases. A lot of them, I mean, they how to say that? They give up, or they don't give up. They give up not in the way that they consciously fight against it on the same level anymore, but they do something. They do strengthen their spiritual connection, embrace life, love themselves more. That's still a way to deal with it. It's not like they keep everything exactly the same. Mostly, I mean, most of the Chinese people I got to know who have cancer basically deal with this. We just ignore it away and keep everything the same. Those people don't get to survive either. And
ignoring is not surrendering. Ignoring is still,
okay, so we come back to surrendering, like to source's energy.
it's an energetic state. It's not a mental state. Yeah, surrender really means it is with my entire being, and it's depending on the problem. It's easier or harder. That's for sure, right? It's kind of hard to surrender when you are in Cancer, but I mean there is techniques, yeah, so you can
surrender more than try to surrender into it.
So what I would do if I had Cancer, I wouldn't focus on the disease. I would focus on what in me thinks it is not source. What of me thinks it is not whole. What of me, so I would completely focus on this part, and I would like build up my own divinity. And this is the only way. It's like, and it's not fighting anything in me that's not divine. It's like unconditionally loving everything that is, and then take it from there. So, but surrender in daily life is just pretty much just beingness, just with accepting that everything is, everything around me, everything in me, and obviously if anything disturbs my beingness state, it is because something in me is imbalanced, so I would probably go and do shadow work. But when you have done proper shadow work, then surrendering is really just existing. It really comes down to I just exist, and everything, whatever wants to, all the consciousness I hold, it's so stupid, when you have experienced source, you see the world through a different lens. This is not my consciousness, yeah. The thing that is speaking right now, that's acting, it's just an illusion of self, but it's not me. It's like a conscious thing acting through me, and like the thing that we perceive as self is really just the illusion, because we have the illusion of a body, and we have an illusion of a reflection of us in a mirror or something. But it is not me that is thinking. I'm just a little trapped prison that is prisoning in infinite intelligence, yeah. And like and the more I get rid of my prison, that's boxing in infinite intelligence, yeah. The more I can just get rid of it and like step away, step aside, the more this is what surrendering is, yeah. I just step out of the way. And for me, it's easy. I don't know if it's that easy if you haven't done shadow work, but so it's not ignoring a problem. It's like
see it as an invitation to invite more to surrender.
No, it's really just get out of the way. Maybe that's the easiest part. You just really remove yourself from it. So you just see the body as something that sort of does its thing, but it's not me. It's not. It's just like a car that I'm driving, like my car. I wouldn't go fix my car, I wouldn't go fix my car. I would just like focus on walking or something.
So you have your car and you have your garage. You like right, and then they have their whole team. They know each other. They know how it works. You just stay out of the way and don't keep driving anymore. And
not even that. Yeah, the body is really just like. It's just cells and atoms, yeah. It's if I don't identify with it, I don't have to worry about it, because it's like it does what it does, and it's good and it's perfect in what it does. So it's like I'm not even questioning my body, because I keep it healthy and I can do workouts and stuff. But it's I don't know how to explain this. Because I think early on the journey of obviously I was doing energy field work and stuff. To keep my body healthy, but it all comes back to like everything that I write in my book now is really just about beingness. But obviously that's very late stage on the spiritual journey.
Yeah, but I'm also surprised because your dog had cancer, and it lived really long with you. And then last year when we met, you already said that he was completely healthy and no trace of cancer anyway.
I got rid of all his pain meds, everything, right? So he didn't even take any pain meds anymore.
And also I noticed that you give him normal dog food, like not even...
No diet.
No diet, and also you give yourself quite normal diet, normal food. You're not super picky with food, and you're.
Well, I eat healthy naturally, but I'm not.
You just had a Coke.
That's true. I don't drink much Coke. That's really once every 6 months or something. So
Okay.
he had a bad moment with me, but usually I'm eating very healthy.
Okay.
But just naturally, not.
Yeah, not like you're super overthinking what's good and you're
I'm
not
overthinking, yeah.
do you buy organic food?
No.
No. Normal. Yeah.
Because I even don't like these organic stores. It's like, no, it's performative.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, no, my doggy is my best example because he also embodied, and it's like as much like you said earlier about your dog, it's like as much as I was there for him, he was also there for me. So he was also teaching me unconditional being, because he, like in the end, he had like a growing tumor. So like when I got him, he had cancer, he was all good and he lived for 2 years, but in the end his tumor was like this big, so he grew another thing that was on his shoulder, and it got bigger and bigger, and he was just completely unbothered. And he was just like going with his day, he was like going on walks with me, and I was unbothered with it as well, so I also went to walks with him. And then everybody who saw us, they were all like, oh, how can you go out with this dog? And so they were confronted with disease and death, and put all these narratives on my dog, and I'm like, for me, when I look at him, I only see life. When other people looked at him, they only saw disease. And I'm like, you make my dog sick, go away. It's like, and I think because we both ignored it so much, this is why he could like live so much. And when at the end, like the vet was looking at him, he was like saying he's never seen such a big tumor. Because we both just kept going, and he just kept surviving, and it just kept going another week. And like even GPT told me like 1,000 times, yeah, it's probably going to be his last week, and still he made like another 6 months. So it was like, so he was just against all odds, because we just both ignored the tumor.
So, but to the end of his life, he actually had cancer. So he grew another thing came up, but he.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had cancer the whole time, but we were just not paying attention to it, so it was not visible.
Was not killing him.
It was not bothering him. It was not. So we had like our normal routine, and it was not killing him. And in the end, he had like a visible tumor, and I found it so beautiful that he wasn't suffering. Right? I'm just saying suffering because he wasn't suffering. But every time we left the house, we were confronting people with his disease, and he made such an important difference to show this to people, how he can live just like a normal life. So in his suffering, which was not suffering, he was still being of service to others, and you can never underestimate how your own whatever thing you carry is actually important for someone else. And you wouldn't believe how many grown-ups, my dogs, saw my dog like crying in front of me, and it was so beautiful. And like every single adult that cries for my dog in front of me because they are touched or because they are in compassion, there was always beautiful moments, and none of these moments would have existed if this dog wouldn't be sick. So it was like a gift for all of us. You can just completely turn around the narrative of disease altogether. I think it's so important. Yeah.
I mean, like you. So we talk about this narrative thing. You said like after second awakening, like even a positive narrative does not count anymore. You realize it's also just our own narrative from our human perspective, and like and same with like this disease.
Well, we ignored it, we didn't put a narrative to it. But I'm saying like he brought the coherence, I call it always coherence, we carry, he brought it into visible for others. So it's not about narrative, it's more about like holding sort of a total unbothered state, which helps other people reflect their state to it, So it actually could clear up some narratives of other people, which is not intentionally by us, but it's like doing it anyway. So I would rather read it like this.
Recently I'm learning a new hypnosis called the Simpsons protocol, and the women the woman is really intelligent, really intuitive and analytical, and she said like as a hypnotist, we spend much more time to dehypnotize others than hypnotize others because all those people are having negative narratives about themselves, about their body, and as long as you remove that, healing is already done. And they tell about themselves, who they are, what kind of diseases they have, and most of the time your work is just to help them to remove that, and and it's actually not you remove that, it's actually just you bring this on the surface so they see it and so they realize, oh, it's a narrative, and they're bigger than it's a narrative. Yeah, and
interesting.
Like,
I would agree.
And I also wonder how this, this negative narrative fading away. So, like someone else used this metaphor in hypnosis. I felt deeply in me, and she said it was like a dark cloud, like a darker cloud in the sky, and then it's there, but then you can look at it, acknowledge it, and then realize it's almost like like decomposing itself, and realize it's just air, something like that.
Well, I think all the shadow work techniques, they're similar to this. When you do parts work, they also do the same thing. So you bring unaware parts to the surface. You give them awareness. Or when you do like visualization of energy blocks and you see them dissolving, it's always the same thing. It's like you bring unaware stuff to awareness. And the way you do it, it's actually doesn't really matter. It's really just bringing unaware things to the light. That's why it's called shadow work, right?
This is probably too much in my head, this question, because I always wonder about this negative, we call it negative core beliefs, automatic and negative thinking or whatsoever. Let's say this is like let's say like in my body, like now, like I have IBS, I have belly pain always at one spot, in my stomach, and then. Is it that we bring awareness to all the good parts in the body so that it's eventually swallow up this pain, or does it look like we look so much into this black spot and until it dissolves itself, and so we see hope, and we bring like healing into this spot?
Well, the spot is already in awareness, so you have to find the part that is an unawareness that is in the shadow that's causing the spot. So the spot is not the problem, it's just a symptom. So you need to find something that is hidden that causes this.
It's misalignment. So as long as you bring this,
so it could be completely unrelated. It could be over here. It could be some, I don't know, mother issue. I don't know. I'm making it up. But also this area, what is it, like willpower, it's solar plexus, so I don't know, it's like identity, will, and it's also the center of our energetic sort of spiritual center. So it's like when we deeply identify with human stuff, it all sits here, right? So it's like it could be just an identity, whatever issue. So it's something you would never find if you look at the symptom. You need to look at it. You have to dig all the shadows until you are lucky one day and you find the one that's causing this. But usually when you go to like, I don't know, it's hypnosis or something, it will probably tell you what's the shadow behind this. So the subconscious knows.
Like how? So when you were doing shadow work, it was like hypnosis plus part therapy. Was like that?
We started with like a mixture of tools and techniques. So it was parts work and hypnosis and some other tools. But like I think we at the end only did parts work. I think it's the most powerful tool actually.
Yeah.
And when
I'm also using it a lot. I think it's.
But that's really, I really think you need to have a good coach, because I heard some people who teach it or do it in a different way. So a successful parts work session always gets rid of the shadow. So there is no partly getting rid of it or like seeing it. So it really has to be gone. So every parts work session which is not successful in eliminating a shadow, it's not successful. So I would switch coaches. Because I've
definitely not just this the shadow therapy, but actually most of the clients who were telling me who had like half a year talk therapy or whatever kind of didn't receive results. They just always around people. It wasn't an energetic match, and they're not supposed to be there. They end up there to be there because and they didn't search or it was paid by insurance or something.
No, but I think, for example, if you go in and you say, I have a jealousy issue or something, it should be done after one session. There's hardly ever a topic which you cannot eliminate in one session or the coach is wrong. So this powerful, the technique is this powerful. So it should be gone.
I think so too. I think so too. Most of those, as long as if someone's topic is very concrete, the intention is very concrete, is strong, everything should be done in one session.
Yeah, so for my mother I took 2, but everything else was done in one session.
So with time I realized the more centered the essential sensitizing event is the earliest the triggering event works, and the most it's the easier it becomes. Say like this is caused by this because I was hurt, I was beat by a dog, I was stung by a bee when I was 6. And it's really easy to solve. And then they're afraid of animals, afraid of hair, and then they develop claustrophobia, afraid of going into airplanes. This is really easy to solve. But there's like a complex PTSD, like people who are constantly abused by their parents since they're growing up.
Yeah,
it's really scary. It's really scary because there's no one single event that would prevent that we could trace back anymore. Like so there's in their daily life, and they're shouted at and in front of people every day.
But would you go to events? Because if I do parts work, it's not about events, and it's not even important. It's really about like the current emotional or like the current parts that are playing out in your system, and this doesn't have to be connected.
Now I understand. Because I was trained in hypnosis, so we're looking for those initial events, and now I understand it's emotions, and eventually emotions come to somatic experiences stored in our body.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we track into this body sensation, we're going to find everything. If the sensation is gone, the whole trigger is gone.
So a friend of mine, she had like something in her ear. She couldn't dive. I met her during travel, and she couldn't dive with me because she said like the minute she puts her head in the water, her ear hurts. And I was doing back then I did more energy work than parts work because it was easier because we were like standing literally in the water. And I said to her, we're in your field, when you sort of think about this. I told you this.
Yeah,
right?
I remember. Yeah.
So it wasn't this. I didn't ask her about the ear. I was like, what's the biggest thing that's bothering you right now? Like what? Close your eyes. What comes up right now? What's like the biggest sort of discomfort?
Yeah.
And she said she doesn't feel good in her body because she feels fat. And literally in her bikini, it's obviously the most discomforting feeling because it's so exposed. And literally, that's the minute you go diving underwater. So how everything's connected is just insane. So I was like telling you, okay, when you're in discomfort, like with your body, where in your field do you feel this? And she said here. I'm like, isn't that interesting? It's like right where it is. So we did some energy work here and got rid of this blockage. And ever since she could like just dive underwater and that's it. And it's like you don't focus on the symptom, but I mean we were lucky. That was a lucky shot that we immediately found the shadow that's connected to the ear. But like the shadow was like her beauty, sort of disconnection with herself, which manifested in the ear. I don't know why. Maybe connection is bikini and ocean water, but it can be completely unrelated. So the thing is, when you see synchronization, it's because you are allowed to, or you're meant to. It's in your highest path, it's your highest interest. But it also happens that you don't see synchronizations because you're supposed to like find trust in yourself or like for other reasons. So it's like I don't even pay attention to those anymore because it is what it is. And again, it will unfold whether I see it coming or not. You know, synchronizations are just sort of yeah, it's kind of like I'm on the path that I'm supposed to, but since I'm in surrender and being state the whole time anyway, I see synchronicities all the time everywhere. So they lose all meaning because I'm in this.
But in that way,
anyway.
In that way, there's almost no real misalignment because everything is planned out anyway. There's no real misalignment. Say someone is so misaligned that this person gets less and less and repeated again until this person eventually get cancer and died, and then this person looks back in this perfect life because that's how life's supposed to play out.
Define misaligned and aligned, right? I always say one more time that a disease can be aligned either for yourself or for someone else, but like I said, it's not infinite plans into the future. There is like a time X and things unfold recursive. So there is probably like a variety of available sort of paths. But the thing is, misalignment happens when you try to control the path. Yeah. So there is like one ideal path, one that would unfold for you if you wouldn't get in the way, and misalignment means you're resisting this path, you're just going left and right. So when you're on this path of your highest alignment, then you would see a lot of synchronicities and all these kind of things. It's like you are in flow with whatever it is. So you can go misaligned, but it would always nudge you back. Yeah, it's like it always tries to put you on the right path. So yeah, that's why I say define aligned or misaligned. So it's like, so I would call misalignment really just like the stuff you do to yourself. Instead of having things unfold through you. So
it's really hard to feel. I mean, clearly there is a highest path. And this highest path could include a lot of suffering, a lot of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like the level of suffering is your suffering.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was wrong. The level of highest path actually includes more like, let's say, hardships. And then people choose to suffer on this or not. Like, the highest path could include the cancer and people choose to suffer from it or not.
Well, suffering, like I said, only happens when you resist. Yeah, so it's like when you don't flow. So even when you have like a challenging situation, like I had my 500,000 euros of debt, I was actually quite okay-ish with it. So I wasn't really suffering because I was still fighting against it, but not desperate about it, right? So I was like still having a fairly normal life, but I still wanted to get out of it, so I was still fighting with my action-oriented human self to earn money to get out of it, because in my human narrow mind, I thought with more work I will get out of it. So I would say like the suffering could have been worse. Yeah, it could have ended in, I don't know, jail or something, because I could have, I don't know.
That was personal debt.
Yes.
Oh, I was happy.
Yes. It's very heavy. And people sometimes ask me, like, how can you deal with this? How can you be like
sleep still, right? Like you still get to sleep and have a child.
It just is, right? It just is what it is. So I can try to get over it, out of it, which I did, but I didn't identify with that. Maybe that's suffering also comes from identification.
Yeah.
So yeah. What was I saying? So yeah, this path, now looking back, I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't do it any differently. I would do it over and over again because now I know what it led to. And this is also like a lot of times when you look back at these things and like, are they really,
Oh yeah, I always
are
hear
they
those
really
things.
bad?
I always hear those things. Also, I had a client who had like 12 centimeter tumor in the uterus, and then she started her spiritual journey. She started with Joe Dispenza, and then got onto something else called a Jerry surgeon. And anyway, it was just the invitation to looking into herself, and then like after 1 year or so, the tumor is completely gone, and she talking the same way. She, oh, it's such a beautiful journey. It's so beautiful. I would not trade this with the whole world. I don't mind to do it again and again.
See.
Yeah.
You remember Dolores Cannon also said, like, if somebody has cancer, even like is identifying with it, there's no way you can get rid of it because they're identifying with it. So either they enjoy the attention or like the victim role or like the suffering in itself. You know, there's also an identification with suffering, which is also not to underestimate.
This is an important part. I never understand. I mean, I sometimes feel it, and I talk about it. But when it comes to myself and the illnesses, I don't understand what identify mean anymore. Because I mean, it's not like I don't understand how to not to identify myself with the disease, but how it feels to not identify yourself with anything. Because no one had this experience. I think unless they're born, never knew language, and language make you identify. You know, like.
Well, this is what I said earlier, and when you are in source awareness, you completely de-identify with everything, and this is really what changes the entire perception of everything. So what I said earlier is like, it's literally as if I don't exist anymore. I really just step aside and just things are just happening to me, like through my body and stuff. So it really, it is 99% de-identified. There's maybe like tiny stuff left and stuff, and I really disidentified with women stuff. So I can't. That's what I said. Like there's a difference in energetic feeling if I choose to be a woman or if I identify as a woman. That's two different states. So that's when maybe you can feel into it. I don't know if you can feel the difference. Yeah. If I say I am a woman, it has like a very grounding, anchoring energy. But I'm like I choose to be a woman. It has a different energetic blueprint. And it's like I am strong or I choose to be strong. Yeah, it's like two different states of being, and then you can feel the difference between identity.
I think that's exactly what the feminists got wrong. This part, identifying. Yeah. I'll be the pants.
Such a happy kid. Kann sich doch alleine beschäftigen.
Yeah, I mean, with computer, of course, you get the once a month.
That's good.
Oh, this is one question. I think I know it, but I can put it into words, and you know, like I want to hear the answer from you. Let's say the state of surrendering, the state of really not participating, like leave the car seat and you know let the universe do the work. And compared to the state of, victimizing yourself and see yourself as a victim. I mean, both feel like surrendering, and a lot of people really, I think, get it wrong. A lot of spiritual people who become spiritual without doing shadow work, got it wrong by stepping back.
I think one feels contracted. It feels like angry. I'm like the victim. I'm like everybody is. It feels angry. It feels contracted. It's a completely different state, yeah? If they would feel into it, they would feel an emotion. The victim role always comes with blame, it comes with anger, it comes with hate, it comes with it's injustice, or, you know, there's so many emotions connected to it. I was a victim myself, I can tell. And the it is not me state, it's free from any contraction. It just is, yeah, it's just free. Like the whole field is free. That's the difference.
I have an idea. It seems like that the victim state is also surrendering, but surrendering to ego instead of surrendering to universe forces.
Well, actually, it has nothing to do with surrendering. It's identifying. So I don't know who calls it surrendering because it is not.
Mm.
It's deeply the opposite of surrendering. It's like, or maybe I know what you're saying. Let me think. Oh, I would call it. It's more like a dwelling. I dwell in my victim role. Yeah? It's not a surrendering. It's like I bathe in it. Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's like I'm completely identified with it. Yeah, it's the opposite of surrender.
Mm.
So yeah, and as always, one feels contracted, one feels expanded, one feels dark, one feels light, one feels heavy, one feels light. It's always the difference with everything.
Mm.
And emotions are the biggest navigational system you have. So whenever an emotion is in the game, there's always something going on, right? If it's not unconditional love, every other emotion is like telling you something. It's pretty simple. So every other emotion is just, it's not unwanted, it's just a signal, you know, you just have to check what is it saying.
Mm. So like it's a signal. If you were triggered, it's a time probably you look into yourself and see where the trigger comes from and see if you can, bring other shadow into awareness. And if it's not about trigger, it's probably a signal that you're supposed to do something or not do something.
It's always a trigger. So it's like
it's always a trigger.
So every sort of discomfort, yeah, in the body, you know, hate, anger, envy, I don't know, fear, biggest one. It's always a shadow that wants to be seen. You know, every negative emotion, negative in the sense of discomfort, it's in the way of your highest coherence, of your highest self. It is something that is blocking your source in you, you know, because you are unconditional love. And everything that is not unconditional love is a shadow. It's a shadow of
Let's say there's something really, really simple, you know, not be emotion, maybe just, you know, like a physical. Well, eventually all the emotions come to, you know, physical somatic experience too. So I feel like we could just come to the you know, call any kinds of discomfort. Let's say, you know, you're sitting in a restaurant and then people are talking really loud next to you, or, you know, it's a machine running in the background that cause you discomfort in the body, and it would actually cause discomfort in anyone's body if they're alert enough, present enough, and I wouldn't call it a trigger.
Well, I'd also say there's like a difference between what I said earlier. It's like clean emotions and emotions. So when I was grieving my dog who died, I was grieving and I was like crying like crazy, but I was a complete clean grief and it didn't feel like discomforting for me. I actually felt it quite nice. It was actually beautiful. So I was in sadness, but it was a beautiful sadness, so it didn't bother me. Maybe that's a good example.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
When I was going down to my neighbors, and it was not an emotional anger, but it was like let's say, so it has nothing to do with me. You can feel it's cleaner. It's like, it's hard to describe. So it has not, you know, it doesn't have my blood pressure up. So, you know, when you are angry, you have like a physical sort of experience to it. But when I'm not angry because, so that's not a good example, but when I have the urge to go down and say something, it feels clean. It doesn't feel like I don't have any heightened sensations in my body or something. So earlier when we were like in the playground and it was noisy, I can notice it, I cannot like it, but I don't have an emotional reaction to it. So it's uncomfortable, but it has no emotional layer to it.
Okay.
So I think emotions is the key, the way emotions feel.
Yeah.
So
like, if without, so when it's like a pure, when it's like a pure discomfort, it's actually only on the physical level, not on the emotional level at all.
I guess so, yeah. Because I am sensitive with sound, so I have to wear noise
Makes
cancelling
sense.
stuff a lot of times.
Makes sense.
But I'm not annoyed, it just is information and it has no emotional charge.
Makes sense because like for kids, for example, like with all the kids, like when they dislike something, like something, like like there's no narrative attached to it, and they also get they also they're almost like their whole somatic experience pass away very quickly.
That's a good example. I think kids are very clean.
Yeah, it's like
very clean emotions when they're
exactly.
sad, when they're
Exactly.
angry.
Like this
There's
idea.
no narrative.
Yeah, exactly. As long as there's no narrative created around this sensation, there's no emotions that are triggered, and sensation stay as a sensation, and it would pass away very quickly, as long as, especially if you bring it onto surface.
So it's a good example. Maybe I should include that in my book, because it really would make sense to people that not every anger is bad, or like anger is a stupid example because anger I think is always bad. But I mean like to speak up or something is not always triggered by anger, It could also be just like, I want to be heard, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be a narrative.
Yeah, I see this among a lot of spiritual people, that because they have this idea of how enlightenment look like, and they get the idea way too early. So like, you're still 3-year-old and you're looking at a role model or how you want to be in 20 years, and if they try to pretend it and make it worse, it's because it's time to play, it's time to get angry. A lot of people, they have this idea of how enlightenment, how, like fully whole person will look like. So this, like sadness, they usually don't suppress. It's fear they don't suppress, but they all suppress a lot of anger. And then with them, they forgive way too early because they have the wrong idea what forgiveness actually means. So they actually avoid this person.
They also avoid sort of every controversial conversation, which leads to absolute still step. So you need, we all bring unique perspectives, and I also write this in my book about the spiritual community and their misunderstanding of conflict. So because we all come here with a very unique perspective, and we come here designed with a unique perspective to inform each other, to play with each other, because only together we make sense as a collective intelligence. So if we would stop taking each other serious, if I would say to you, I don't tell you what I know because of some mask that I'm wearing or something, it would mean that I don't respect you enough to trust you with my information, right? It's for me the opposite of union consciousness. And union consciousness is like, hey, we are all sort of divine sort of source. And it creates for me separation if they hold themselves back, and if they don't entrust me with their, and then they just brush off, like any sort of comment that's not love and light. They would be just like, that's your ego speaking. I'm like, if you perceive this as ego, then it's something in you. You need to check out, this wasn't meant ego, and I can freely say it is not coming from ego, so it's something in your perception and not in my...
In the last 2 years, like when I met you, we had this talk, and you were telling me like all this ideas about AI, about like 20 years and how things can be taken over, and well, like I'm all the time just amazed at how confident you can be about expressing your like one-sided human opinion. It's clearly like very. I mean, we were talking about very human topics back then, and you're so confident about it, and you could talk about next 10 years economic trend, and as if it already happened. And
well, now I know why, but yeah, I know
how you could be so confident with having sharing your opinions. It's
well, the thing is, I grew up, for example, without a narrative filter, so I was pretty much left alone. So there was no one that put their narrative on me. So this is my practical read of it. So I have a very unfiltered presence. So I can be very, like, I don't put a filter over my language. And some perceive it as very direct, and some feel triggered by it a lot. And then for many years I was like, training it away to make myself more conforming to society. And then a few years back, I kind of discovered this side of me. I'm like,
Whatever.
it's like it's putting so much effort on me to like smooth certain words out, to add like a maybe or could be or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is just not who I am. It's just not how I speak. And now I know why, because now I understand that Source speaks through me, and Source doesn't speak in ifs and whens and coulds. Yes.
Oh yeah, actually in hypnosis, like the one guy called Jerry Kine, who's the founder of Omni Hypnosis, he said if you could just remove any words like maybe, like try, like probably, you could be, like twice as happy as now. Everyone could be so much happier just by being self-assertive in this way. And
well, I won't describe my version of speaking making me happier. I think the opposite is the case because I attract conflict. but but I would say it's like also the way that I am designed, so I'm not questioning it. So if my presence triggers people, then it's on them, not on me, right? So it's maybe my task to trigger them, who knows? But it's like the way. So now I understand that I have been in Source awareness for a while and I just wasn't aware of it, and probably my entire life. I now understand that this is the way Source would speak, and this is why I've always spoken like this. And everything that I would try to change this is just effort for me.
Do you know nonviolent communication? From Marshall Rosenberg, nonviolent communication.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this. I think I read about this as well.
Yeah. Anyway, back then I read all his books. I was really fascinated by it because I really see it as something that pretty much solves every conflict. But then, with time, I realized most people got it wrong. It's not a technique. It's also not a philosophy. It's body awareness. People think it's about the way you talk and how you smooth each other. And it's actually putting more pressure onto each other by pretending to be a robot, pretending to be a coach when you're not ready to.
That's what I mean. It's like I really rather have someone speak clear to my face than
Exactly. And people got it really wrong. I was really lucky. I went to a workshop and then this guy, he was just starting this. And he was, all his approach was a little bit controversial, so a couple people left in the seminar. And then he was saying that don't learn all those words, don't learn all of those. But he couldn't express why. So we were doing really weird experiments. We were doing really weird exercises. And one moment we're pretending that we are all angry and we're throwing, pillows onto the floor and act angry. And at this time I started crying and I realized, okay, before this point, I didn't allow myself to be angry for easily 2-3 years. I never get angry. I never shout loud. And I wasn't connected to this emotion anymore. And he was actually teaching me body awareness and be connected to emotions. I got so much benefit from it. And then the other exercise we did was, so when we were talking, you were talking and I'm talking, like we are constantly every second I'm determining new distance towards you. Say something like this, and then you say something else, I step back, and we do this constantly to each other. We get used to this state. Yeah.
Schon wieder. Ist ja süß. Ich weiß gar nicht, was du hast, tolles Kind.
Yeah, and and with time, I was forcing my husband to learn it because I think he triggered me so much. And he said, I'm not doing it, you're making me into a robot, and also, you're giving me more stress on the stress that I have already, because what?
When something triggers you, you have to change yourself, not the other, right? You know that.
Exactly, right, exactly. Yeah, it was. I was just this idea. I want to share some work.
But I had also like a similar sort of workshop, and then he was also forcing us to get into an emotion. And that was very interesting because by the time I was already like, I had all my shadows in check, like I've eliminated them all, and I was like in the purest bliss state, and I'm like, no way I can get anger out of anywhere in my system. It's just not there anymore. And he was like, it is there. You have to find it. I'm like, no, sorry, there is no anger in me. And then we were like, all the others were doing it, whatever, and then we're going through other emotions. And then I was like, what about the positive emotions? Because as much as we suppress negative, I'm like, let's try to be really happy, yeah? Let's try to be really loving, It's like the same suppressed emotion. And also, like, we were in smaller groups. And I'm like, he left the people alone in their angriness. So I took my little group and I'm like, okay, let's now focus on unconditional love. Because we cannot stay in this angry state, and it's just So what I mean, like what they didn't understand is they focus again, energy flows where attention goes. Some of these seminars they focus on all the negative emotions, and like positive emotions are valid as well, and they want to be expressed as well. Such a simple thing. It's like beyond me how this doesn't find through.
In the beginning when I started doing Kyoshi tea, I'm sure it's happening to all practitioners. Maybe I attract more because I'm so into healing, so into chronic illnesses. A lot of people come to me because they're looking for healing, and a lot of people don't have this inner power. They don't have this divine connection whatsoever. They're so resourceless. So they enter curiosity, their higher self, I don't know, they actually don't get to connect to their higher self. They just have a little bit more peace, but the more I dig into their trauma, the more they suffer, and they come out and still don't have the answer, only have everything on the surface. And around 10% of those people would go home and have a depression. Most of them already have a depression tendency anyway. And that bothered me so much. I suffered from doing curiosity. And that's why I started looking for other ways to complete this whole technique. And not everyone has that inner light, has that divine connection, whatsoever healing power. They're so lost already that this doesn't exist anymore. So I found other techniques that could basically use my voice to inject this healing power into them. You remember this part with like crystal river going into healing every cell. For me to step into my, almost like me step into my higher self to give their higher self a voice, so that this depressive part get compensated by love in one single session. And then they might have the voice later on themselves, but then it's a complete session. I feel like it's rounded up. And as long as I do that, like almost immediately the depression rate, I tell them it might be a downer also on my website if they discover something heavy. But as long as I did that, the depression, the downer rate after a session went down so much more. And then I realized, okay, it's not just at the end, okay, I tell them, it's the healing power going into them. It's actually every single thing, every single emotion, every single negative emotion they encounter. You need to shower them with love, whatever, a lot of
them saying everything comes back to them.
Exactly. Almost like
So you could also refer to not the higher selves, yours or his, hers. You could also say it's source, right?
It's source. It's actually the same thing.
Everything anyway.
It's all the same thing. Whoever, it's like what you said. The energy chose the easiest path. Sometimes their path is not. It's not open. So I do the work. I'll do the work, and so I channel as much as possible, and also not the whole session, but pretty much everything they experience is like shower them up and close it up with love, and
nice. Just so nice.
And I realize it has to be such a big amount. You say we get into a session, of course, and the subconscious mostly bring up trauma to see. No matter past life or current life, and if it's not a balanced session, if I feel like this person is not obviously feeling a lot better, at least more half of the session should be contributed on, should be used on bringing this love in this pure source energy in, and most of them. They can't even imagine it. Even if I guide them, even if I open it up, a lot of them, they probably still, I channel through probably only 5%, and then and then they get only 1%, and in this 1%, probably only, I don't know, the 10% actually become integrated into their body. Like how I think the therapist's state is probably the biggest, I feel like factor for healing success in the session.
Yeah, 100%. That's why Dolores Cannon is successful. But I would really be interested to see if I can bring you to source awareness, because I think this would be so powerful for your stuff.
What do you mean?
So if you could come to this unconditional love state with all, like the normal spiritual awakening is quite uneventful. So you have like, I don't know, more practices, more awarenesses, whatever. Then you have a Kundalini event, which is quite a lot of body sensations and stuff. But this is about it, right? There's not much. There's like a little bit of energy, sensitivity, but other than that, it's quite an uneventful awakening. And the source awakening is like a full-blown, full-body experience. And I really want to see if I can bring you to source awareness, because I think I could. And then we could have these stages as well. Interested?
Sure.
So I would really let me think what would be, so like this breath inversion technique is very important.
Let me write it down. Breath inversion. So
breath inversion is like when you
projecting you're projecting your consciousness into a room.
So you say like, I'm the breath, I'm not the body. I'm the breath, I'm not the body. It's like my mantra or something. And then it's like the room, or like you focus on the thing that breathes you. So you just become like the lung wing. Like I always say, like I'm a lungs wing. Okay. So something is breathing me. A lungs wing. So my body is like the lung in our body, right? So my whole body is like someone else's lungs. So I can project like as if I'm in someone's body, and this is someone else's. But you could also use a room, right? Like your breath is in this room. I do it not local, so for me it's just outside my body. So outside my body is breathing me. So you don't need to focus on the room or anything. You just outside of the body is breathing me. So you can just focus on the breath coming in and out of your body, and you just feel the difference. When I'm in my human self, it's like I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. It's like inside me. And when I'm doing it the other way around, it's like the minute you focus on the breath outside of you, you can feel like this is just the organ that's receiving the breath, but I'm actually here. Yeah, good, my God. And to be honest, all of this is all fascinating stuff. I'm really not sure. I think it would come to me automatically when I'm ready, but I'm really not sure if I'm ready for that, because I can go into self-hypnosis and drop into really good deep states very easily. Basically, when we were doing level 3 training, like basically 2 minutes without anyone guiding me, I close my eyes and could drop into higher self-channeling. That's why it should be easy for you. But then in this state, I also know that it's a highly aware state. And there's I feel like all the sensations, all the sound, all the input becomes so strong. That's a trance state. It's not a state that I could walk. So what I do is cover my eyes. I'm completely in darkness, and I have noise cancelling in. So I'm eliminating my senses, because it gets very loud. Every tiny sound gets very loud. So I'm in darkness and some silence. It's maybe a state that I should tap into before my session, but it's not a state I want to be in daily life. I mean, picking him up from kindergarten. I'm purely speaking about trance state. I'm not speaking about regular life. I'm actually thinking. I was always. How do you close it up? I actually thinking, like actively, like when I'm too much in this state, how can I close myself out to do not get all the sensational input too much into my body, and turn this state off a bit when I want. Well, I'm generally noise sensitive. That's always been the case, even before all of this. So this is nothing new. So I also wore noise cancelling before that. So I don't feel like I'm energetically affected. Because
I dreamed of my own death a couple of times.
Oh.
It's always different dreams and always a second layer dreams. In my dreams, the second layer dream is always more meaningful, more like have more information. One was like I have a dream and then wake up and then realize that was a dream and then wake up again and realize that was still a dream.
Ah, okay.
This kind
Like
of
the stuff.
yeah. So my second layer dreams have more important information. The first layer is more emotional, drama stuff. And then in different dreams, I have 4 different dreams, and twice the lucid dreams. I was always dreaming that I was going to die, and it's pleasant. I know it's big dream. I know it's information. It's not my own fear of death because they were showing me how beautiful it is.
See?
They were showing me with the galaxy, like I was going to, and they were telling me, it's beautiful. It's like going home. You don't have to worry and stuff. And
but it could also be information for you, for your clients or something, it doesn't have to be personal.
I feel like, I feel like, okay, like, let's say I'm going to die, like, why do you tell me this? This information, it's not about dying or not. It's not my question. My question is more like, okay, like, why I'm told this?
So
what does it mean for me?
So you will know when you're supposed to know. So let's say maybe there's only one person who benefits from this information through you, then you will know. Before that, you will not know.
Mm.
So the minute it will.
Oh, a benefit. The rest of my life is from this point on was unfolded through this information. Everything unfolded through this information.
That's your information.
So I couldn't let go of it. I couldn't believe in any guru, any fortune teller. If I'm how long I'm going to live. I want to find out this whole mechanism of destiny because of that, and I want to get first-hand information. And so I start to.
So that's your answer.
Yeah, and then I tried things around and ended up on KRT. And my KRT session, first session result on this was not clear enough, but clearly it was, but it opened other doors. And then after 2 years, I learned KRT myself. And in the session, it said that I was so misaligned that if I continue doing this, I'm going to die, out of my own free will because I'm not on the path anymore. Because I'm killing myself with my own like guilt and shame, or the depression, unnecessary self-judgments. And if I keep doing that, I'm going to die. But I actually have the choice to not to die. I mean, back then I had the image that I had the image in my head like a aligned way is something bright, but it's constantly changing. It's constantly changing.
Well, actually, the aligned way is pure brightness. Mm-hmm. So it's just the perception of us. So it's like I said earlier, you can perceive a disease light or dark. It's like it is in itself just neutral information. So it's only your perception. Your perception in its aligned state is always bright.
I'm still digging into this now. Of course, I'm much more comfortable with the topic, but I feel like without this topic, it would like intrigue me so much. I'd probably be less interested in spirituality in general. Like when people talking about 5D evolution, all of those things, I'm always like, whatever. I'm just interested if I'm going to die now.
But isn't it good that other people get to almost die, to be kicked on a spiritual path, and you just get to dream about it when you get kicked off a spiritual path? It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So call yourself lucky.
Yeah. I mean, if that was really a big information, if it's really predetermined, I have another 4 years.
No, if you would really have, if you really would die, they wouldn't give you this information. That wouldn't make sense. So either you get a diagnosis and then you can, interact with people about, facts on paper. This would how it would normally work.
But if it's I feel like then if I don't need to die, of course I'm thankful for that. But then the source basically made up a lie
to push you on your highest path. So, but isn't that what I said earlier? It's like, isn't that nicer than gives you a dream instead of the actual experience to push you on the path? I mean, that's quite nice. So it actually is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's like you get to be on your path without the terrible actual life threat. So for you, the nudge was enough. If you wouldn't have listened to the nudge, then the nudge would have been louder. This is what I said earlier. It's like the next stage could have been
another idea I have. I mean, of course, now I covered this topic a couple of times in Kershishti. So some channeling sessions are more pure, some a bit less, but in general, it seems like it was more like a reminder of misalignment. I also think it might be that I need to deal with myself and to the extent that I can actually surrender to this idea that I'm going to die at age 42, so that it happen not. Maybe it's let's say that surrendering is the only thing that we can actually do to the source's language and to the highest path.
But the thing is, you don't.
But then I need to surrender to this idea too.
But the thing is, you don't surrender to your death next year or something.
I surrender to love.
No, you surrender to whatever it is, right? So because it could also be 100 years. So when you focus your attention on I'm not gonna die or I am okay with I'm dying next year, you know what's gonna happen.
You think so much about them.
so you have to so you have to surrender completely and be like, it's beyond my control anyway, and the only suffering again just arises through the identification with this dream. You can also just be like, cool, if every dream would come true, I could also fly, right? It would be amazing because I'm flying all the time in my dreams. Mm-hmm. So
I also fly a lot. I'm also really proud.
But what makes you identify with one and not with the other? So you just have to get rid of this specific hook in you, and then find out why are you hooked to this. So there's probably again one childhood experience or whatever, or some other control emotion or something that's hooking you to this.
But we're genetically so programmed that I really thought that the fear of death, it could be a projection of all the fears in our life because it's something unknown. But when I look at my son, when he was even 2 or 3, and I tell him there's at a certain point, I told him that someone died or our dog died, or we saw a dead mouse on the street, and he asked what happened to his mouse, and says dead, it's not in his body anymore, doesn't exist anymore, and it scared him so much. I actually think it's deeply so programmed in us. It's not considered a trigger anymore to. Let's say we play Super Mario game, and we need to have death embedded in us for this game to work out. Otherwise,
but I'm not talking about getting rid of the fear of death. I'm just telling you to get rid of the identification with your imminent death. That's 2 different things. So you can be afraid of death, but you cannot. You don't have to identify with the idea of dying tomorrow. That's 2 different things. Mm-hmm. So, and when I was younger, I don't know, in my 20s or something, and I was, for a change, completely happy because most of my childhood was not happy. I was so happy that I had a fear of dying because I'm I'm too happy, I'm not allowed to be happy. What if I have to die now? What if I die tomorrow? Then all of this is taken away from me. So I was catching myself. I'm where is this suddenly coming from? Just because I'm happy? And it doesn't match together. So the reason for my fear of death was because I was suddenly more happy than my system could hold, because I was not used to happiness, and my body was overwhelmed. So That's my today's interpretation, not from back then. So, but what I did is just like, I caught this thought and I'm like, that's stupid. I just let it go because it's, I don't want to have this in my system. So it was just a conscious decision of pushing it away, not of ignoring it, but I'm like, I see you, but you don't make sense to me, just go. So it's not I don't know if I have a fear of death. I seriously don't know because I don't even go there mentally. So I cannot find out if I'm afraid of death because I don't think about it. It's really simple. So it's not part of my system. And also for me, it was always very hard to understand how people can even consider suicide, because I'm like, this is not in my realm of thinking. So it's very hard for me to understand. But it might also be because it has been in source awareness. I don't know. And in source, death is not a concept. But I would say it's not, it's hard for people to get rid of death as a narrative. But by the way, when I was doing the dying process with my dog, I found it so beautiful. So there's also a difference between dying and death itself. And even dying for me it was just a beautiful process. And people are afraid of dying as well as death. And maybe you have to see it once to see how beautiful it is. So if you really struggle with it, maybe you should just confront yourself with it. I don't know. But there's two different things between identifying with your dream or identifying with the topic generally. So I would just get rid of them.
Get rid of them.
And most likely it will probably work with you sit when you do parts work. I also do parts work with myself. I don't do it with a coach anymore. So I can sit in stillness and see like what comes up when I have this fear being really big within myself. I can sit in stillness and be like, when I think of dying next year, what's coming up? Is this like shame, hate, anger, fear, control, whatever, yeah? So and then you can do parts work on this. And you can like, if I don't know, I have to make it up because I am not...
I know, I can feel in my body when we were talking about this already. I know what the fear is. It's really not about that, since as a kid.
Then you should do one session of parts work and that should be gone, it shouldn't be a problem anymore.
Yeah.
I really have to go now, actually, you're way too late already.
Okay.